Explosions are iconic in Helldivers 2, from the classic 500 kg all the way to the portable Hellbomb. Not only are these explosions a big part of Helldivers 2, but they are some of the best looking explosions in gaming, period. My name is Red Monster Thing, but you can call me Red. And today, I decided to evaluate every single high explosive in Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is filled to the brim with explosive weapons, ranging from simple grenades all the way up to your own personal mini nuke backpack. And because there are so many, I wanted to clarify exactly what I am excluding from this list. High explosive, in this case, means that it will one-shot an enemy without needing to hit that enemy directly with a projectile. Hulks and Chargers are the smallest sized unit in order to be counted for this. So, most weapons that rely on projectile damage are being excluded, not only for the sake of time, but if it can't one-shot a Charger or a Hulk without hitting it directly, it is excluded. Yeah, we're talking explosions so big, you don't need to aim. With that out of the way, it's time we start off with some of our smaller explosives. First up, the Dynamite throwables may be the weakest explosives on this list, but they sure are powerful. And for not so obvious reasons, the Dynamite is my favorite throwable in the game. Not only is it able to one-shot both a Hulk and a Charger, but it has a demolition force of 40, meaning that this can destroy a lot of structures most other weapons cannot, like a Bile Titan spawner or a bot fabricator from any angle. The Dynamite throwables also have an extremely large AoE, making it easy to destroy crowds of enemies. I use these all the time, especially against the bots, since they are just so extremely destructive. The only thing holding back these grenades, in my opinion, is the fact you only get 3 uses before needing to resupply. Next up on the list is Thermite. This throwable is able to stick to enemies, but not only that, it also detonates with an explosion that is twice as damaging as the Dynamite grenades. And just like with the Dynamite, you only have 3 uses. Its demolition force is unfortunately not as great, so it can't destroy certain structures like the Dynamite can. But if you stick it to the side of a bot fabricator, it can destroy it with 1 use. Although it's not quite as easy as it is with Dynamite, it's pretty reasonable considering how powerful this grenade actually is. Now this throwable kind of fits in a gray area with the criteria as a big explosive, since its explosive radius is not very big, but it is able to kill a Hulk without having to stick it directly on it. And obviously, the same is true for a Charger. It's certainly not the biggest explosion we have, and it's far from the prettiest, but it gets the job done. In fact, the Thermites are so popular in this game that many people consider Thermites to be a meta pick. However, we still have one more throwable to talk about before moving on to sidearms. The Giga Grenade was added with the Entrenched Division Warbond and is definitely a lot of fun to throw. This throwable is extremely absurd with what seems to be 3 high explosives all strapped together with duct tape on a broom handle. So be mindful when throwing this grenade. It has a lot of weight to it. But not only that, it also has a massive explosive radius. So make sure you throw this grenade as far away as possible from you. It's a great option for accidentally reinforcing yourself or your teammates, if you are completely clueless. So please check where you are throwing this thing first. Liberty knows how many times I've been team killed by this grenade alone. It also only has 2 uses max, making it more of an emergency item you put out last minute. But out of these 3 throwables, the Giga Grenade is by far the most explosive out of the bunch. For our sidearms, there is only one sidearm I would personally classify as high explosive, and that is none other than the Ultimatum. Not only is this weapon the Team Killer 9000, but it also one-shots more than just Helldivers. Think of it as the sidearm version of the Giga Grenade. With a similar drop speed, this explosive has a lot of weight to it. It easily one-shots Chargers and Hulks, and if you're lucky, Bile Titans in the head. It does massive damage to Factory Striders, especially if you can hit its head at least 2 times. The Ultimatum, even if it's alone in the sidearm category, is a dedicated anti-tank explosive that perfectly complements any build where you're short on heavy solutions. Just try to be aware of where your teammates are. By the way, if you are enjoying this video so far, please consider leaving a like, or if you're on mobile, hype the video. Also, if you enjoy my content, make sure you subscribe. Once we hit 100k subscribers, I'll tell you what my favorite color is. For primaries, there aren't really any primaries that fit this criteria. I mean, the Eruptor is by far the most explosive primary we have, but it can only two-shot a Hulk if you hit it in the eye. Sure, it can one-shot a Charger in the butt, but this is extremely hard to do. And because this weapon focuses more on projectile damage, I'm excluding all other primaries that have similar traits. And obviously, weapons like the crossbow, 1-2, or plasma weapons are also excluded from this. Moving on to stratagems. First, I want to share my honorable mentions, because most of the stratagems on this list did not make it to this evaluation. But that doesn't mean they aren't explosive or effective. All of the HE barrages, like the 380 or walking barrage, unfortunately didn't make it, because while their AoE is certainly strong enough to be considered high explosive, what all of these orbitals have in common is that they rely a lot on projectile damage. Yes, they can one-shot a Charger if you get lucky, but the chances of this high explosive actually hitting its target is a lot lower than you'd think. Same goes for our next item, the Orbital Precision Strike. The Orbital Precision Strike has a lot of explosive damage, don't get me wrong, but it's literally just one precise shot from the other orbital barrages. So instead of coating the whole area in a billion of these, you get just one, and honestly, that feels pretty pathetic in comparison. Another honorable mention I want to bring up is the SEAF Artillery Explosive Shells. While it's cool that you can literally launch a mini nuke mid-mission if you find the side objective, I'm putting it here because you can't simply bring this every mission. Otherwise, it definitely fits the criteria. But finally, to top off our honorable mentions, I couldn't pick anything other than the Eagle Airstrike. Yes, this is explosive, but it also requires direct hits to do any real damage. It's certainly a powerful option, but out of all the options we have, there is only one real option I believe technically fits this criteria. And that, my friends, is none other than the Eagle 500 kg. Not only is this stratagem the only explosive that fits this criteria, but it is also one of the most iconic stratagems in Helldivers 2. Up, right, down, down, down is a stratagem code input that all veteran Helldivers players out there will recognize. This weapon has been used in countless memes for good reason. It has some of the highest explosive output in the entire game, only being beaten by some of the upcoming explosive you'll see here in a moment. Sure, it's responsible for a lot of accidental team kills, but it's also one of the most effective ways to dispatch elite units like a Bile Titan or even clear out a Bug Hive. But of course, we're not done yet. We still have plenty more explosives to talk about before finishing this video. Now, speaking about support weapons, I also wanted to go over my honorable mentions for support weapons. Obviously, I'm excluding the recoilless, eats, and commandos for their dependency on projectile damage, but the spear is one of the most explosive anti-tank weapons we have. Capable of one-shotting almost every unit below a Bile Titan, it is pretty strong, but unfortunately, almost all of its damage is projectile damage, which kinda doesn't make a lot of sense when you consider this weapon is designed off of the Javelin in real life, which is very explosive. Also, the Epoch is one of the most explosive anti-tank options, and it's not too terrible at clearing small groups of chaff, but it definitely sits on the weaker side when it comes to damage, requiring 2 shots to destroy a Hulk. But for our final honorable mention is the Breaching Hammer. Huh, well that's strange. There is a melee option in the explosive video. Well, let me explain. Since 90% of its damage is explosive, and with the option to melee normally, it just makes sense to put it here as an honorable mention. Obviously, the reason why it doesn't really fit the criteria is because you have to make contact in order for the explosive to go off, and the explosive radius is extremely small. So while it almost fits, it's still unable to one-shot a Hulk or Charger without making direct contact. It's still one of the strongest explosions we have, it's just so small. But anyways, let's get into the final part of the video and talk about the actual support weapons on this list. First up, we have C4. This support weapon is one of the most unique weapons we have. To start off, it has a detonator that you carry instead of a traditional support weapon. But because you also carry a backpack full of C4, you're forced to not only fill your support weapon slot, but also your backpack slot. However, don't underestimate the C4. It is one of the best explosive stratagems we have, capable of one-shotting both a Charger and a Hulk as long as it's placed near them. It can even two-shot a Factory Strider if placed on its side. Seriously, this weapon is so strong, don't sleep on it. Next up is the Leveler, and it's named that way because this weapon absolutely levels everything. This anti-tank weapon is simply one of the best ones we have in the game, but think of it like the support weapon version of the Ultimatum, because this has some serious drop. It's capable of one-shotting a Factory Strider just by landing near it. That's not something that just any weapon can do. Even red stratagems like the 500 kg can't one-shot a Factory Strider from any angle. But also, fun fact, this weapon is notorious for team killing during the invasion of Cyberstand. This and one more weapon. Which that other weapon is the Solo Silo. Of course, both of these items became infamous for how explosive they were and how recklessly players used them. So many Helldivers died on Cyberstand to the hands of both the Leveler and the Solo Silo. Why? Well, these two items were both so powerful, they were almost necessary when fighting the onslaught of Vox engines. But what makes the Solo Silo separate from the Leveler is that the Solo Silo has way more range. You get a nice little laser pointer that lets you lead a missile directly to where you are pointing. It's an extremely unique weapon, and it can one-shot Factory Striders from practically any distance. It's frankly absurd. Seriously, fire and forget. It's also able to one-shot command bunkers, which can trivialize this mission type. Well, we're getting into territory where everything seems to be able to one-shot almost every enemy type in the game. It can't get much more powerful than this, right? Well, there is one more item left to discuss. And that item is none other than the portable Hellbomb. Not only is this item one of the most community-requested weapons in the game, but it is also the most powerful weapon we can carry. It not only one-shots elite enemies like Factory Striders or Bile Titans, but it has a huge explosive radius, making it easy to clear entire hordes of enemies all at once. Combine this with the One True Flag and sacrifice yourself during a bug breach, you will get so many kills, it's not even funny.
Bro, why have I never used the melee of the One True Flag before? What the heck? Come back!
What?
The portable Hellbomb is very clearly the most powerful explosive device we have access to in our arsenal. Nothing else even comes close.
Just kidding, screw you. The Star of Peace is the most explosive thing we have in Helldivers 2, and even though it's just a story element, may destroy planets and artificially remove content from the game, and yes, just like launching a nuke, it definitely doesn't count for the list, but it's cool anyway. Okay, bye!
Well, anyways, that's all I have to say about explosives in Helldivers 2.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe. It helps a ton, and it means a lot.